important if the mosque is to serve the purpose for which it exists, especially in the contemporary context for mosques today. A mosque is referred to as a house of God, a house of Allah. The people who build the mosque, manage the mosque, are just like agents. A person who builds a mosque, the Prophet ﷺ said, is someone for whom Allah will build a mosque for him or them, or build a house or a mansion for them in paradise. It's a very rewarding thing to build a mosque or support a mosque, but there's really no use building if there's not, if this is not going to be followed by proper management, proper leadership. A building is just stones and cement. It's just bricks and blocks. It's going to be demolished eventually, just a matter of time, and it's going to stay in this dunya. The question is, what role does this blessed building have for the community? To what extent does it help people become better human beings? To what extent can the mosque play a role in accruing benefit in this life and helping us accrue benefit in the hereafter? The Prophet ﷺ said, the best among you are those who are most useful to others. It is important we ask ourselves, how does the mosque play a role in our becoming more useful to others? How does the mosque become a symbol of what Islam stands for? Of rahmah, of benefit to the community, of benefit to the worshippers. How does the mosque become a symbol of peace, of generosity, of gratitude, of unity, of social cohesion, of growth, and of contribution? And so as we look at the subject of mosque management and leadership, we definitely want to look at how mosques are managed on the day-to-day level, the leadership that the mosque has, whether in the form of a committee that runs the mosque, the role of the imam in that community, and very importantly, to ensure that the mosque has a vision for where it wants to be, what it wants to do as it moves into the future. That we are not just any other building, but a building where after 2 years, after 5 years, there's a clear, measurable benefit to the community because of the existence of that mosque. So this is a topic we hope where we will discuss in further details, looking at the role the mosque played at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, looking at our contemporary context, and being very clear on the various options in various communities that the mosque exists, the role it can play towards a better humanity, both in this life and facilitating our spiritual growth, our intellectual growth, and our passage to the hereafter, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, Jazakallah khairan for that very enlightening and inspirational discussion about how we should manage our mosques and the purpose they are meant to serve. Inshallah, we'll be going next to our brother, Malam Taslim Adeyemo, the head of IET Digital Media Productions. We've known you, Malam Taslim, over time to be an expert when it comes to management, and you gave talks about that. Can you enlighten the Muslim community, putting into the fact the rise in construction of masajid across various communities in Nigeria? What should be the better structure that should be placed to ensure our mosques are managed efficiently to achieve our desired objective?
Thank you very much. I think 2 things we need to break down. The first one is the understanding of management and the understanding of leadership. So management is actually the day-to-day runnings of an organization, the operations. So something like what do we do every single day to ensure that the mosque is functioning as it should? And so it might be something like taking care of the cleanliness of the mosque. Before we pray, for example, before the azan, what should be done? What preparation should we put in place before people start coming into the mosque every single time we want to pray? And as soon as we finish praying and people are out of the mosque, say for example, Salatul Zuhr, and people are out of the mosque, what else do we do, in preparing for the next Salat, so that when people come, they don't come to meet a disorganized mosque. But when we are talking about leadership, we are talking about creating vision, thinking about the future of the mosque. What purpose is the mosque going to serve for the community? It's just like some of the things we have been learning from Sheikh Ahmad Lemo, Allah yarhamuhu. I used to say, when you are thinking strategically, the first thing you need to think about is where we are now. So, what is our current situation that the mosque exists for, to be able to solve, like what are the challenges the community is having for which we are creating a mosque? Then where do we want to be? So whether in the next few years, 5, 10 years, where do we want to be and how do we get there? Now, this is a way of thinking strategically. But the key thing is for a mosque, the existence of a mosque is not solely for praying, it goes beyond that. And the reason why we have to come to the mosque, the Prophet ﷺ said, praying in Jama'ah is far more important than praying alone. He also tells us in one of his hadiths that to be together with good people is far better than to be alone. So, and that gives us, the idea of coming together, meeting together in the mosque is very, very important. And because we have people from different backgrounds coming together, so that gives the Ummah the opportunity to tap into the knowledge, into the skills of the various people coming together. Now, if we are having a center that accommodates people of different backgrounds, then we need a serious management and leadership that will harness those into something that can be very useful for the community in the nearest future. So, and that's the work of the leadership. So, leadership is how do we bring together all the resources, human resources, material resources we have, and how can we create a vision of the future that will contribute to the society positively, of course, using ethics, for the Islamic Muslim ethics, for what we've learned from the Quran and the Sunnah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. He was addressing the Prophet, and of course, by extension, he was addressing every individual Muslim. We have been sent to be rahmah unto the world. And so that's why you will see some mosques, they were just places of worship. People go, they do their prayer. But over time, because of that rahmah, that Allah has sent us for. So you see, those mosques evolved from being just places of worship to being classrooms where we have to teach people. People have to learn. So we teach them various things in the mosque. We do rural dawah or urban dawah also. So some mosques provide health services. So now, as the leadership of the mosque, now we are talking about if some group of people are thinking, oh, we want to start mosque, want to build a mosque. It shouldn't just be, okay, we want to build a mosque where we will pray. And these are all the things we have to take into consideration. Apart from worshiping, what other things can we put in place as part of the rahmah to the society? So these are very, very important. It can be, during Ramadan, most mosques have all this feeding thing where we feed people throughout Ramadan. With the leadership of a mosque, put it in such that, okay, it's not only in Ramadan we'll be doing it, we'll be doing it from time to time also, so that we are not waiting 1 year later, that's when we continue it. And there are still people that are hungry even after Ramadan. So how do we take care of those people from time? What can we put in place? And, together, working together with the management. So just to put it simply, the leadership is about thinking far into the future of how the mosque can serve the community using different resources at their disposal. And while the management of the mosque is making sure the day-to-day activities of the mosque, based on what the leadership of the mosque have put in place, is always going on smoothly. Hello.
MashaAllah, that was a very beautiful one, especially when it comes to issue of the difference between leadership and management and how we could combine both of them to ensure maximum utilization of our masajids and the future nature of our engagement with mosque. We'll be going to our Sheikh Alhaji Nuruddin Lemu to make an input. We know he has a lot. So what do you want to add to this discussion?
I would say it's important for Muslims to recognize the mosque as the first Islamic organization in their community. In other words, even if you've not set up an NGO, any other association, the mosque already is a place where people come to associate. They come to get to know each other. It's a place where a lot of good people gather. They're not all good, they're human beings. However, they come for virtue. They come every day, every week to remind themselves about their creator, about their obligations. The mosque is the center where anywhere in the world, religious sites are where, people are always being advised to be forgiving, to be charitable, to be respectful about human dignity, to be more humane in our treatment, to be more patient with the adversities and trials of life. So when we look at a mosque, it's important, if a mosque is going to continue fulfilling its function way beyond the lives of those who set it up, that the management takes that into consideration. So not long ago, I visited a mosque. Somebody wanted to look at renovation and expansion, etc. And we started asking about the land documents. Who owns the land? Is there a certificate of occupancy? In whose name is the land? And that's when the imam said, it's in his name. I said, okay. Is it a gift to the community? He said, yes. He said, but then is it in the name of an organization run by the community? He said, no, between me and my students. And the question is, may you live long, but the day you die, the owner of that mosque will be your children, your heirs. Do they care about the school? Do they care about it going to the community? Or would they rather sell it to the highest bidder and just go, split the money? Would somebody convert the classrooms into their house? Or turn it into a shopping complex? Or demolish? Are those children really going to care? Will the children even remain Muslims? So when it comes to just the documentation, it is important that the mosque management and mosque leadership realize that they need to get the papers, the documents sorted out. Are they going to, is the owner of the land and those who built or run it, are they going to turn it into a waqf? Are they going to register it as a trust and there will be trustees? Are they going to register a non-governmental organization and they are directors? But they must think of succession planning, because we have so many Islamic organizations and schools that have been set up by individuals or groups, and they haven't paid attention to the legal ownership of this. And when the person passes away, he hasn't passed the baton on. We must look at a mosque the way we look at a relay race, that the time will come, you will hand it over to another generation. And that is why it is important to make sure that the registration of the mosque with the relevant authorities and with the advice of a competent lawyer is done, to make sure that the purpose of the mosque is not defeated when the person who established it passes away. The administration of the mosque. Many of us can manage a mosque. Why? It's just 20 people or 50 people. But the moment your mosque starts to gather 50 people, 100 people, people start wanting things. I want to learn Arabic. I want to learn fiqh. I want to learn tajweed. I want my wife to learn this. I want my children to learn this. Now you find the need to start setting up classes. Somebody wants extra lessons for maths. Can anybody teach? Somebody wants charity. Somebody has an illness. Somebody can't pay for school fees. Gradually, you find the mosque having to play other roles than just call for prayer and lead the Jama'ah. But most of the time of the Prophet played all of these roles. It was where politicians, the political leadership of other communities, Muslims and non-Muslims, met to discuss treaties. The Christians of Najran met and discussed with the Prophet in the mosque. The idol worshippers of Banu Zakif met and discussed treaties in the mosque. In fact, the 9th to 10th year of Hijrah was actually described as the year of the delegations or the deputations. That's when people were coming from all over the place to have treaties, discussions, interfaith dialogues with the Prophet ﷺ. Ibn Qayyim, in discussing this, actually, a number of others bring hadith where the Christians even wanted to pray in the mosque. And the Prophet ﷺ allowed them. It's not that he agrees with their religion, but he respects their right to worship even in our own mosque. So the mosque played a lot of roles in advancing the Ummah. It was where the Ahlul Sufa stayed. It was where IDPs, internally displaced people, people with no other accommodation, waiting for some other accommodation. The mosque was the place of rahmah. The mosque was where the wounded were tended to after a battle. It was the hospital. So the mosque played a lot of roles for men and women. Yeah, you had a woman there who used to live in the mosque. She put her tent in one corner of the mosque. She used to help in cleaning the mosque. In fact, on one occasion, the Prophet ﷺ was very disturbed, very disappointed, and angry that she even passed away a few days earlier. He was asking after her, and they said, oh, she had been buried, because he wanted to attend her funeral. So when we look at the role of the mosque, the importance of succession planning, the need for the mosque committee as a collective to be knowledgeable and forward-thinking regarding what they want the mosque to do, to look at how to build their own capacity. Because if you don't build your own capacity as a mosque committee, and you want to recruit or hire an imam, and you don't even know what is a good imam, what is a bad imam, you will sometimes have to look at, let's get another imam from somewhere, another scholar from somewhere, to come and join us in interviewing, so that we ensure we get a good imam that you can pay well. But it doesn't stop in just recruiting a good imam. Some people, once they have gotten their jobs, they relax. What is your curriculum for the imam? How do you make sure this imam in the next 2 years, 3 years, is far more competent than he was when he came? Why? The imam will do marital counseling. They will do advice on issues to do with domestic violence, on child problems, on somebody who needs this, and all sorts of things. So again, people ask questions from every angle. The imam has to try and be as encyclopedic. So you can't just say, because he came as a scholar of hadith or he has good tajweed, that you allow him to become stagnant. The mosque committee really needs to look at, how do we ensure that the scholarship of our imam increases? How do we ensure that when you are ready to pass the mosque to the next generation to manage, that they are not given a liability? Yeah, so can you establish awqaf? Can you establish a school that can even generate income, that can pay for the land rent, pay for electricity, pay all the kind of costs that you would require, especially when you are also going to be adding variety, inviting speakers from this mosque, male or female, to come and give talks in your mosque, inviting young people to speak to your younger generation. So there's a lot that the mosque has to wake up to, if a mosque is to play the kind of role in the 21st century that it played during the first century of Islam.
MashaAllah, that is, wow, very, very interesting. In fact, it was very deep and very, very enlightening. I want to speak on that regard. But this question goes to Madam Taslim. Sheikh mentioned when constituting a mosque that we should have job roles and people responsible for those, executing those responsibility. Then, how in constituting a management for a masajid, how do we ensure that the right responsibility is given to the right person for the right job to be done, vis-a-vis issue of accountability, issue of monitor and evaluation, issue of ensuring documentation? How do we, what strategy can we put in place to ensure all these are achieved when constituting a mosque management committee?
I think something we need to always put at the back of our mind is that somebody knows how to drive a car doesn't mean he knows how to create a car, or doesn't mean he knows how to design a car. Sometimes one of the challenges for mosque and especially Muslim organization also is to put people in certain roles based on the fact that they know how to recite the Quran, they can speak Arabic. But I think beyond that, we need to look at who can do what, not the language you can speak or because you can recite the Quran. I mean, that should be part of what every Muslim should be able to do. In addition to knowing how to recite the Quran, in addition to knowing to be able to speak Arabic, I think it's important that we look at skill sets. So before we say somebody should become the leader of a mosque, for example, manage the mosque, he has to have management skills. So and so it's an extra benefit if he speaks Arabic, if he knows how to recite the Quran, but that shouldn't be the whole. The main thing that will decide whether he gets the job or not. Somebody that is very good at management, that doesn't understand Arabic, he finds it very difficult to recite the Quran. It can still manage the mosque with the assistance of the imam. So everybody has to have a role, and everybody has to be very, very good at their role. Just think about it. You see, the mosque, from what has been discussed, you will see that the mosque is a center point for our civilization. Like every single thing we want to do, like how whatever we want to build, the kind of community we want to build in the future, always starts in the mosque. And I like how he put it beautifully. The first organization is the mosque for every Muslim community. Is the mosque, because that's the point where all of us meet. People wake up. Imagine somebody. We have different people from different houses waking up very early in the morning, converging at a place. So the mosque is a place of spiritual development, but that spiritual development doesn't just stop within you. It has to manifest outside. We need people to manage how to help attendees of the mosque to be able to express the spirituality they are learning outside the mosque. So there are people that have been trained in their own area. So if the mosque is expanding, we have classrooms, for example. So we need people that not only understand Arabic but also know how to teach. So that it's not just okay. We have one man I'm teaching children, but there's no progress in the children. So we want people that knows how to teach and can monitor the progress of the children. So they have that knowledge. In other words, they have probably gone to a school of education where they not only know their stuff, but they also know how to teach children. So any role that anybody is going to adopt in the mosque, it shouldn't be because we know him. No, it should be because he knows his job. He has expertise, he has learned how to do it, and he can really manage, he can fit into that system and take us from where we are to where we want to be strategically. So I think that's very, very important. And it shouldn't be also that let me put it this way. When we are putting people, getting them to certain roles in the mosque, we have to be very, very careful. Most of the mosques we have today, there are some people in committee members that are committee members that it's very, very difficult to tell them to go. They are not functioning, they are not doing anything.
No.
But we put them there probably out of, we respect them, he's an elderly person, but he's not performing. And, out of respect, or probably he's one powerful person also. And that's why we have to be very, very careful. Be careful who you put on the committee of a mosque. Is it somebody you can say no to? But even if somebody you can't say no to, then there's a big problem. If he doesn't perform, you can't remove him, and there's nothing you can do. And the work, there'll be a gap, nothing will happen, and you can't complain. So, and that's why, in addition to knowing who to put there, you have to have tenure. So it's not that you are a lifetime committee member. No, after 1 year, after 2 years, we'll have a new set of committees. If not, some people will just be there, nothing happens, and we can't remove them because there has not been, right from the beginning, terms of references that this and these are what you are going to do. And after a certain period of time, we will change you. We have new set of people. So, and whoever is coming onto the committee membership, it has to be somebody that respects, diversity of opinion. Apart from that, they have to really understand, they have to have understanding of Islam. Now, they don't have to be really, really deep in Islam, but you have to understand, like the purpose of Islam. So that it's not just the same thing we keep doing every year. There are some mosques where the only thing they can say they achieve every year is they have annual public lectures. But beyond that, exactly. So there are things we need to be doing consistently. So, and where you have membership of your mosque, more than 20 people, more than 50 people, imagine you have the ability to change the life of these people. And you actually work towards changing it. And these people are the people that are they are going out into the society, they are relating with people every single day. Whatever you give them in the mosque is what they should be giving out outside the mosque also. So that transformation, so you want them to go through some kind of transformation, spiritual transformation, personal transformation within the mosque. Now, who can do that? So it is people that really can do that we need to put in the mosque management, and people that will always also have time for the mosque. So we want people that have time for the mosque, people that really. It's good to donate money, and money is good, but there are people, we need people to use that money. So while some, their own job is, I may not have time, but I can donate money. So the people that will be there have to be people that have time to really justify the usage of that money to achieve the goal the mosque has set to achieve. So that is very important. The expertise, skill level of the people we are getting into the mosque, whether volunteer, whether we are employing people to serve in the mosque.
MashaAllah, that is wonderful. It's very interesting. We'll be looking at communications, Alaji. Effective communication in this our 21st century, it's a key. It's very pivotal to any successful or emerging development. So how do we ensure this effective communication, putting into consideration our digital age, is being constituted in our masajid to allow inclusivity or inclusiveness and different of opinion, to ensure we get to our desired result? How do we harness communication, digital communication, in achieving better management of the mosque?
Firstly, I think we need to understand that the mosque is the communication center of the community. When it comes to enjoining right, forbidding wrong, telling truth to power, when it comes to independence of opinion, the correct use of free speech to make communities better, the mosque is the critical place. If anybody is expected to tell a leader in a polite manner or highlight challenges the community may be facing, everybody is expecting the imam would do so. But for an imam to do so, he has to be more independent. So communication is good, but sometimes there's timidity. There's fear. My salary may not come. So the imam needs to feel secure. The sources of income can't just be begging from one main patron. Usually they say good things, not cheap. Cheap things, no good. If you are looking for a good imam, just as if you're looking for a good teacher or a good school or a good professional or a good doctor or a good whatever, you need to ask yourself, what do I pay to secure this person? What do I do to ensure this person feels comfortable, has some level of autonomy to say what they honestly feel? You underscored the issue of the 21st century, where digital communication and platforms have become important. Some mosques have websites, and on those, some mosques have their Facebook pages. They are able to have more inclusivity where they can pull younger people, men and women, and I understand, and women, and youth, so that the mosque committee is not just a club of old fogies and old people who get older and older and older and more irrelevant to the needs of the community. We realize that in a lot of Islamiyas, in a lot of afternoon classes, we actually sometimes have more women interested in learning about Islam than the men. We should have women representing. When it says shawirhum fil amr, you know, when the what do you call him? Abdurrahman bin Auf was nominated by the committee to consider who should be the next caliph, and he was consulting various people. He consulted everybody, including women. They have a lot of input. If you are in any business where women are the majority of your customers, then you must want to hear from them and get their involvement. We're not here talking about women being head of state or some other controversial issue, but to be on a mosque committee, it would be very unfortunate that a mosque today would recognize the importance of women and young people on the mosque, or that they would not recognize these demographics, while at the same time, when it comes to any other area, we realize that if you want to give good customer service, you must try and hear what the customer has to say. If you really want to improve the quality of your mosque, you must be able to answer what are the needs, demands, complaints, challenges of youth and young people and women. And as we have a generation gap that is getting, you know, it used to be one generation to another generation was 30 years. Gradually, it became 15 years. Now you're having gaps of just about 7 and 8 years between one group of people and another who just look at you as belonging to another world, another age. So we need to start tapping in to the force of younger people. We need to get their own input into the khutbah. What should the sermon be about? And if the imam is not competent and you are going to lose your next generation, that imam will undermine the sustainability of this mosque, because the next generation is not there to be given the baton to carry over with. But if you want to communicate with younger people, you must be on social media. Yeah, you must be on not just email and WhatsApp, and you know, that's as far as some of us go, but to get younger people who are already in the mosque to be members of committees in charge of communication. Some mosques have their own app where all the programs that are going to be done in the mosque, you can actually see what's going on a weekly basis, the classes, the counseling sessions, etc. And so it is important when it comes to our management, our communication, to make sure there is really good two-way communication, actually three-way communication between you and the people in the mosque and vice versa. Not just you communicate well, but you also hear from them. But also look at how as a community you can serve the bigger community better. How as a mosque committee and an organization made of these memberships, how can the mosque be a rahmah to the whole community? How can you improve security? How can you improve tree planting in the community? How can you make it greener and cleaner? Sometimes the way you know there's a mosque, unfortunately, is from the smell around the area. Some people are very dirty toilets. That's a very embarrassing situation. And so to wrap it up, I would say, to use a metaphor, when it comes to hotel accommodation, you will be told there are some hotels that are five-star hotels. These are hotels that offer immense services. From the time you are arriving, you feel welcome. They will take your thing from your car. You won't feel anything, just fine. The service is exceptional, the warmth, the hospitality, the cleanliness. A mosque is not a great mosque because of the artwork. That actually may be a sign of misappropriating our priorities. But what makes a mosque the greatest is the service, the rahmah, the comfort, that when people have problems, whatever the problem, they know, inshallah, when they go to the mosque, are they new Muslims? Are they people who have been abused? Do they need a refuge? They know when they say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, that in the mosque, they can get refuge from good people of faith and help them, empathize with them. So it is important you ask yourself, if mosques in your community or in your town are to be ranked, your mosque will be how many stars? 1-star mosque, where people just go pray Assalamu alaikum and go out? Or 2-star mosque, where more is happening? Or 3-star mosque, where they even have burial services, they have counseling services? Or a 4-star mosque, where they also build wells and have water for the community, they feed, they do this, they even are involved in interfaith engagement, peaceful building in the community? Or a 5-star mosque that does what the best of humanity in that mosque can offer the community? So communication is really critical in knowing what are the needs so that the mosque is sensitive to needs. And what we don't want is mosques that are a nuisance to the community, where you are blasting your loudspeaker in the middle of the night for somebody to hear your nasheed, or when some women want to sleep, some have babies, some are not Muslims. And if you're going to call azan, as much as possible, get somebody with a beautiful voice, somebody with a memorable voice, somebody that really makes you happy, not makes you frustrated. So definitely communication, feedback, to make sure the mosque is on track with its services. This is critical, and it needs younger people, it needs technology.
So I think just to add to the issue of communication, especially when it comes to social media, the digital media, we should not see the use of digital media as a waste of time. Some of us are, in the habit of thinking social media is a waste of time. It's a waste of time depending on what you are doing there. So if you just want to be a consumer of information, it might be a waste of time. But if you want to be producer of content, real content that people, that that this is so good, I can't keep it to myself. Because sometimes Allah gives you some kind of knowledge that you have to share. So, and you want to share it to as many people as possible. So you can't keep it to yourself. And we are living in an age where virtually everybody has what you can use to reach them in their pockets. So it becomes very imperative for anybody who has a very good piece of information, knowledge to share, to use all those mediums so that you can reach out to as much people as possible and save life of as much people as possible. Today, when during Hajj, for example, we can listen to khutbah in Hajj. So all those, it's thanks to technology. So we can also use that. We have local scholars, some local scholars that are very, very good. That if you listen to them once, you always want to listen to them. So, but unfortunately, it's because they are not using technology. They are limited to, all their teachings are limited to a few number of people. So I think it is high time we benefit from some of this. I think when I was in Ivory Coast, there's a mosque that they call La Transparence, like transparent mosque. They were building the mosque actually, so, but they didn't want to wait for the mosque to finish before they pray. So usually it's Juma, we pray at that parking lot where we'll go and pray. The imam was so good. I will walk 2 hours, 1 hour to the mosque, 1 hour back every Friday just to go and listen to the imam. But there is no day you will go, no Juma you will go that you will not benefit from. Now, because it was closer to the road, when the buses, public buses are passing by and they park, and you can hear people from the bus, like thanking the imam, right from the bus. They'll be thanking, shouting. Sometimes they'll be shouting, you have to pause the khutbah for them to finish and go. Why? Because they are benefiting from what he's saying. And so, alhamdulillah, now they finished building the mosque. Sometimes I go onto YouTube just to listen to this imam. He's far away, there in Ivory Coast. I'm here in Nigeria, I still listen to him. Now, there are so many imams in Nigeria also that most of us can benefit from. So we need to make use of this technology to reach as many people as possible. Look at, we listen to scholars from the US, we listen to scholars from Saudi Arabia and other places, and it's live. So we need to make use of all this technology in order to share as much as possible of the benefit of the Rahman, in terms of knowledge that we have. So I really encourage our scholars not to see these technologies as waste of time, because that's where most people, like millions of people are every day. So you are not begging them to come there; they are going there themselves. So most people will beg them to attend public lecture, but here people are going there. So you meet the people where they are and pass the message to them.
Alhamdulillah. Because of time factor, when we started when we commenced the discussion properly, we said we'll be spending 45 minutes for this session, that discussion session. And alhamdulillah, we've exhausted our 45 minutes plus 3 minutes more. I would like to implore our esteemed viewers and audience, the participants in the room, if we could spend more, maybe like 5 minutes more to finish our topics before we go to the section of questions and answers. I hope, inshallah, we'll get yes an answer on behalf of all of you. I think myself, I'm also a participant also because of the necessity of the critical nature of the questions. Lastly, Leji, the concept of policy implementation, as you earlier mentioned, how we could set our mosque better and other activities we could engage in for community, for Muslim, even the non-Muslims that can benefit from those projects. When it comes to policy implementation and recruitment of staffs and volunteering, can you give us a glimpse on how we can ensure that is done better?
So you can't give what you don't have. If you want to set up a mosque to operate like a 5-star mosque, and not anybody manages a 5-star hotel. Not anybody is a cleaner in a 5-star hotel. Not anybody is a receptionist in a 5-star hotel. They try to get the best. And so if the mosque is the house of Allah, if there's anywhere where we should get the best, where we should get ihsan and excellence and itqan, real professionalism, it should be in the mosque. And that should be where we really put our best. The good thing is that within a community of people who come to the mosque, you have managers. Some are bank managers. They are managing huge institutions with hundreds, thousands of people working for them. So regarding management capability, nearly every mosque has somebody who is a leader, a boss, a manager, a director somewhere. And the requirement is for the mosque committee to try and harness its own potentials, the opportunities that the worshippers come with. Some people are excellent with interior decoration, and they can make the mosque look much more beautiful at nearly no cost. Some of us are very bad in picking the colors for a mosque. But there's one sister somewhere or a brother somewhere who really, if you say, who can make this mosque look more beautiful, be more effective, be more efficient, reach out better? What are our areas of improvement? You can get a lot of those suggestions. But when those suggestions come, say, for example, somebody donated money and doesn't know what happened to his money. He's not saying anybody chopped his money. that the money went the wrong way, but they just don't know. Consequently, they are a bit worried about giving more or recommending. When you have a best practice, it is useful to put it down in writing as this is how we do it. So that when you bring somebody else to take on a responsibility regarding, say, fundraising, that anybody who gives you any money, number one, it should go into the mosque account, not a personal account. And if the mosque does not have an account, let it do everything it can to have a bank account. Why? Because people are afraid of giving money to a personal account. It's not a professional thing to do. When it comes to policies that mosque is going to run by, so we should have policies regarding fundraising, regarding accounting, showing appreciation, policies regarding how often we write reports, the kind of pictures we show on all the actions of the committees, those committees that are concerned with legal matters, land rent, all the things that have something to do with law, the policies regarding communication. Do you have policies that prevent hate speech? If you want to say anything, come and say, but don't insult anybody in our mosque. When it comes to the question of recruitment, how are people recruited? What is the interview process? Who should be in that interview? What is your policy regarding salary? Do you have a salary scale, or you look at key performance indicators, looking at the terms of reference for the imam, for this person, for the cleaner? You may want a checklist where you have itemized. Do you want to have a cleaner that is illiterate, or do you want one that at least can read the local language? And you can have a checklist so that the person doesn't say, oh, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot to put air freshener. I forgot to put tissue paper. I forgot that when the drum with water goes half full, I must fill it up. That it should never go below half. That you have that as a policy with the cleaners. Where do people keep their shoes? When people start coming into the mosque with smelly feet, smelly thoughts, what do you do? Do you have incense in the mosque? How frequently do you wash the carpets? Or is it when everybody starts complaining about the smell that you wash the carpet? So to ensure best practices are maintained, sustained, it is important you have policies, but it is important also you don't allow policies to kill creativity. Because you don't want the policy to be one where the person is just operating like a robot. You would want from time to time to sit with the relevant stakeholders, review the policies, get new ideas. But this is also why it is important for mosque committee members to visit other mosques, not just within the country, but and within the neighborhood, but in the world. Because there you see how other people run things, how other people are able to make sure there's no bad smell, for example, coming from the toilet or coming from the shoe rack. So transparency, accountability to donors, to supporters, pictures. Some would actually have a Facebook page or YouTube channel where every activity by the mosque is recorded and uploaded so that people know it's a vibrant mosque. But these require policies to ensure that best practices are sustained without stifling or killing creativity and making sure we are always improving.
Alhamdulillah, that was a beautiful recap from the initial discussion to this level. Jazakumullah khairan for that. We'll be moving forward now on the last one from Madam Taslim. We'll be talking about policies, management, strategic communication, blueprints to ensure adequate implementation. So what is the action plan for mosque management? What should be the action plan to ensure there's proper implementation, better leadership in our masajids?
Okay, I think one of the first thing, most important is the issue of having terms of reference, for everybody that is going to be involved both in the at the leadership and management level of the organization, I mean of the mosque. So terms of reference are key performance indicators. So like everybody needs to be given the targets. And what are your targets? What are we expecting from you? So we are not just putting you on the board, but we are putting you on the board or in the management team for X, Y, Z reasons. So, and we list it out to them. And this is what we want you to achieve. And we give them the timeline. So in the next 6 months, we're expecting this from you. So when we list all those things we're expecting from them, so we can leave how they are going to achieve it to them so that we don't stifle creativity rather. So, but we want to see how they are going to do it. So the leadership will give the management team, this is what we're expecting from you. And the management team sits down to design how they are going to achieve what the leadership wants them to do. So that's very important because there are two levels. At one level, we decide this is where we are going, and we give it to the management. So the management cannot just say, okay, we know what to do without giving back, without letting the leadership know. Everybody has to know. So whatever you are doing, let them know that this is what you are going to do, because that's what they will use to monitor you. So and that's what you end up becoming your own KPI that you are going to give to the management, to the leadership, and that's what they are going to look at to measure what you are doing. So they want to know at every point in time, you have taken step A. Okay, we can see you have taken step A, it has been successful. You have taken step B, and so on and so forth like that. So that's one. The other thing is also, because no matter how you plan, sometimes you will see that your plan might not meet the target. So you have to also be able to evaluate whatever you are doing. That's why I like what Umar bin Khattab said. You know, like evaluate yourself before other people start evaluating you. So as you are working, as you are going deeper into your work, always evaluate, are we achieving our goals, are we meeting our targets, and you look at the trends of things as things are going. It's one thing to come up with ideas that this is what we want to do, this is what we want to achieve in the next so many years or months, but it's another thing to see what's going on around us. What we say we want to achieve, is it in line? Is it addressing issues that are going around? If not, we'll just be backward. We'll be doing things that people are not, keying into. So we want to do things that is addressing the needs and interests of people at a particular point in time. So it's a different thing. This is what is important to us, but is that what is important to other people? So if it is not important to others, that the people we want to serve, you will see there will be a kind of disconnection between us and them. And that's when we'll start shouting, I know young people are no longer coming to the mosque. You know, we are not doing what is making them coming to the mosque. So if you want them to come to the mosque, you have to address the issues, know what is important to them, and add to it also. Nobody wants bitter leaf. You know, it's very bitter. I don't want to eat it. You know? But that's what people need. So if you want to give them bitter leaf, give them honey first and add your bitter leaf to it. So give them what they want and add what you believe is very, very important for them to eat. So because that's what will attract them to you and gives you the opportunity to also add what you believe is very, very important to them. So and there's this thing of we are used as an ummah, we are used to lecture. I think we need to also go back to the issue of coaching people, counseling, coaching. Because if you look at the mosque during the time of the golden period of Islam, you'll see that most of those mosques, there were a lot of halakat. In one mosque, halqa here, another halqa there, another halqa there. And what that does is you have somebody with people, around him, and it's the same set of people that are always around him over a period of time until they graduate. So what that does, that is what we call coaching. He coaches them, they have questions about this, and they always ask the question, and he can follow up with them, knowing that, okay, you said you had this issue the other time. How far have you gone? So you monitor their growth over a period of time. So, and that's how some people were able to learn book under, a single book under a particular scholar. And at the end of the day, they have ijaza. Permission
scholars.
Exactly. So they have permission from that scholar to graduate, and they can comfortably teach. The teacher can say, if you learn from this person, and they have confidence that this person will teach you because they've seen them, they nurtured them over a period of time. I think we need that in our mosques these days.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan, even though they will have a lot to say, but because of time factor, we'll not be able to entertain more discussions. We'll be going directly to the questions and answer segment. We have, alhamdulillah, here with us, Brother Ali Abdurrahman from Kaduna State, asking the question, may Allah bless the presenter and may he increase them in knowledge. I mean, my question goes like this. Sheikh Nuruddin Lemu, what can you say about beautifying mosques? I heard some scholars are not in support of that because it attracts people and it's, attracts people attention during Salah. The manner it distracts people attention during Salah. This is why some masajid committee has the zeal to maintain mosques, but due to this, they've stopped. So what do you say about, designing, decorating the mosques and the distraction coming from it to the people coming to pray, and also the management not wanting to do because they are not allowed to design the mosques?
I think this is a very important and pertinent question. The Prophet ﷺ actually in some hadith described that some of the signs of the day of judgment, some of the signs of the end of time, is that Muslims will start embellishing their mosques, beautifying their mosques as if in a competition, in fact, competing with Jews and Christians or Ahl al-Kitab in the beautification of places of worship. This is really an important point, and the need to distinguish between over-embellishment of mosques and the fact that Allah is beautiful and likes to see beauty. Sometimes we spend so much money on mosques. I mean, some parts of the world try to even have gold domes, gold this, some minarets that cost, if you hear the budget for a minaret, that is useless. The Prophet ﷺ said, any part of a building that is not useful, its blessing is removed. Now, if you are going to use the minaret to put your loudspeaker for people to hear from a distance, that may be fine. But if it is just for the purpose of art, then it is important we ask ourselves from the maqasid of Sharia, from the objectives of Sharia, the money going into one extra minaret or two extra minarets, wouldn't it better serve the community if it went into scholarship for poor children into schools? In other words, don't we have better things to do with money to help develop human beings instead of putting millions into stone and cement and artwork? So there is one side where it is important to recognize that the Prophet ﷺ's mosque was simple. The early mosques in Islam was very simple. The architecture actually of domes and minarets was borrowed by Muslims when Islam moved into the Turkish area, occupied in those days by the Christian Orthodox, where they had domes and they had minarets and these things in their places of worship. So definitely sometimes some mosques go too far in over decorating the place to just make the mosque actually a work of art. Now, while it looks beautiful, that is not the ideal. A mosque should look beautiful. It should look clean. But we don't have pictures in mosques. We don't have too much expensive work. It should be simple. Honestly, there are some mosques in the Muslim world that tourists come to that just feel this is materialistic. Yeah, it's just a display of architecture. Naturally, if you happen to have those mosques, then of course the question is what's the best you can do? If tourists are coming, then it's a dawah opportunity where how do we enlighten them? How do we bridge build? How do we introduce Islam to them? We are in a world that wants them any opportunity where people come, you actually want to bridge build and help them understand Islam better, clear misconceptions, and help them with answering their questions. But definitely, for a mosque committee that decides they are not going to spend on a mosque because it doesn't look extra beautiful, it's not the most beautiful building in the area. Beauty doesn't mean it is expensive. Yeah, you can have very simple, beautiful designs that are serene. When you go in, you really appreciate the simplicity of the mosque, the design, etc. Definitely some mosques go too far and seem to be in competition with other mosques in which one looks more beautiful. So I think the mosque committee needs to become more educated in the priority and purpose of the mosque. The mosque is not supposed to be a work of art and architecture. While simple, beautiful architecture is good, that is not the priority. The priority is the rahmah, the service, the comfort, the refuge, the assistance, the usefulness the mosque can give the community, and beyond. Some mosques gather money to give refugees in other parts of the world. Some mosques are able to help a neighboring community. Some mosques are able to help another mosque within the neighborhood and do joint programs together. This should be what the mosque committee and donors should be more focused on than the structure, the concrete, the artwork in the mosque. Allahu Alam.
Jazakumullah khairan for that beautiful response. We'll be allowing one of our participants to ask his questions. Malam Ibrahim Jimo, please, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm here. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam. Please kindly ask your question. MashaAllah, welcome.
Now, Jazakumullah khairan for this series. For this topic, it's a long-awaited one. Alhamdulillah, it's coming out now. I would like to pass a comment and then ask a question or a plea or a request, as the case may be. One is that I was an imam for a mosque, a local masjid in school when I was in school then for 5 years, and I would say one of the challenges, the most challenging thing is to bring everyone together, the old, the youth that, especially in the university arrangement, in the university setting, where you have lots of your youths who have this passion for Islam and the likes. So there used to be a conflict of interest sometimes when it's come to this one is Tariqa, this one is Sunni set, and you have brothers bringing that even to the masjid and then wanting to form a kind of a non-inclusive inclusive brotherhood with this disparity of sects, of ideologies. So one of the challenges I would really like our staff to touch on how to manage how to manage diversity of this of sect. It was really a tough one then, because there was issues where brothers would come and then they personally reported to me that this brother is doing this. Should we not come to the masjid again because this is mostly like a Sunni denominated alcohol and they do a lot of things. I said no. Anything you in school and everything that you do, you've done there, or personal interest should not interfere, should not come between us as Muslims. But Alhamdulillah, we're able to resolve it. So that is one. And then secondly is fund generation for masjid. I know it's maybe a habit of Muslim. We want to do things for masjid, and then even Muslims that are well-to-do, they are reluctant to give out. Maybe it may be tied to not having a structure, like Sheikh has said about having an account for the masjid where people are confident that money that goes into this account are used judiciously. So how do small and maybe local masjids get around at least making the masjid a befitting, because some masjids are not really, really comfortable, even for those who are praying. So how do we go about making the masjid befitting? We've seen a lot online where people raise funds from other countries for their masjid, and it's fine. So how do we go about fund generation for masjid to make it more habitable for people who are praying? And then lastly, I would request that this topic is broken down into a series, because I know you've talked about a lot of things. So if we can have maybe a series of topics, maybe allow things you can allow in the mosque, how to generate funds for the mosque, that will be very specific, and then actionable points. It could be a short time, maybe 30 minutes, or a kind of series where I'm going to listen to how to address diversity in the mosque. And that's the only thing we listen to there, and we can be able to pick it. And this can be a kind of a series that can go on our YouTube channel, where we can go to directly to pick actionable points, just like we have our courses. That's each one of the segments would address a certain part of the whole topic. So Jazakumullah khairan. And I would like to plead to all our listeners also that the masjid is, as we have noticed, is always biased to the adults. Masjid during the time of the Prophet, even kids will come and they won't be chased out. How do we start having masjid where even young Muslims can come to and read? Our libraries should not be just Quran and one Bulugu Murami for adults. How do we have books and things that will allow children to come at their own leisure time and come to the masjid, and we'll see them out they are reading? How do we build how do we ensure that the masjid becomes a kind of cynosure for our kids, our young adults, that they can come there and read, study, discuss issues of Islam, maybe with the guidance of the Malam, and not just adults. But Jazakumullah khairan for this wonderful topic. May Allah continue to reward you abundantly.
Amin.
I think, let me, on the issue of funding for the mosque, I think there are a number of things we need to think about. It depends on who is the mosque first, because sometimes we have the people in the mosque may not have a good network that can help them generate funds. So when you're in a situation where you don't have a network of people that can support you, probably because you are students, I think we have to be creative about what to do. Because sometimes the people that donate money for projects like mosque management, mosque expansion, and so on and so forth, it's because they are giving you money because they saw some things you have been doing. So that's why every mosque that needs support, that needs help, I think should always think of what can we do, or what are we doing that will make people very much interested in what we are doing, so that it becomes easy for us when we say, this is what we have been doing, we need support to continue with. So that's why sometimes we need to develop this kind of social enterprises mindset, where you come up with one or small product, probably a book. We write a book, we commission somebody to write a book, and we sell the book. Even if we are not going to sell the book, we put the book in place. This is a book we have written, and this is what the book is about. This is what it touches on. Some people have read the book, and this is how it has touched on their life, changed their life. We are appealing to the Ummah to help us be able to give, X number of people, probably 1,000 people, 10,000 people. We want this book to reach 10,000 people, 100,000 people, depending on how ambitious you are. So if they can help, and you do a kind of fundraising, you can do it online. Alhamdulillah, these days, it's easier to do online. You can go onto Facebook, create a Facebook group, leverage other Facebook groups. You can do it on WhatsApp. If you have people that have WhatsApp groups you can meet them, appeal to them. That is a book. We are not selling it, but we need support from the Muslim Ummah to be able to hand the book to 1,000 people, 10,000 people, and some of the proceeds of the book is going into this, into that, so those kind of things. So that's one way that I believe we can address the issue of funding when it comes to that, because we have different level of mosques, and that's why at the beginning you remember the issue of 5-star mosques. So some mosques, if you grade mosques from A to E, for example, A being the highest, E being the lowest. So you definitely, whatever a mosque that is in category A can handle is not exactly what the mosque in category B will be able to handle. And people that are even going to donate, they will feel skeptical. If I can give, say, 10 million to a mosque that is in category A, I will feel very skeptical to give a mosque in category E.
That's 5-star.
Exactly. So you have to be able to know this is the level we are in, and this is what we should be targeting. So you move gradually up so that your fundraising is based on the level you are at a particular point in time. So if you know that issue of the circle of influence and circle of concern, what can you do now that you can raise money for now? Raise the money for it now, and as you are solving those problems, your circle of concern is reducing, so you're able to solve bigger problems. So take it one step at a time and go like that. So I mean, there are various ways of raising funds. The other thing is, what is the mosque doing? Like what has been the benefits of the mosque to the immediate environment? Because people really want to know, what am I giving money for? What is the money going to do? What have you done before that you can show me, that will convince me that if I give you this, you'll be able to do more of that? I mean, that's one of the reasons why people, when you try to raise funds, you don't get anything, because you don't have testimonials, you don't have past history that will convince people that this is what you have been doing, and if we give you money, you'll be able to do more of it. So every mosque needs a program, a life-changing program for the people in the mosque and for the immediate community. But you always start from there. Always start from what service can we give, and what service are we currently giving? How is it? I know what is the impact of it, because that's what you use to sell the activities of your mosque, and that's what you use to convince people. I think I will leave the other question to
Alhamdulillah. That was very interesting. Jazakallah khairan for the answer. Quickly, because of time factor, this 12:19, we can't go more than 12:30. Even though we should have stopped at 12:15, but I think the discussion is very educating. So please, for any voice question, not more than 30 seconds, please. As soon as possible, maximum 45 seconds. Women integration in mosques. The brother asking about how do we ensure that is kept in place?
women and young people.
Yeah, and integration in mosques, as you discussed earlier.
I think one thing to really recognize is the mosque is the house of Allah. It's not the house of men. It's not the house of the older. It's the house of Allah for his ummah. And it is cruelty to Islam. The Imam would be a dictator, a tyrant, be intolerant towards young people or women. As Brother Ibrahim Jimot, the last questioner, raised a very excellent question, also ideas on this question of inclusivity. When you know young people need to share their ideas, then the best people to speak to them are fellow younger people. And if you want to hear, you need some of those courageous young people that will not allow age to edit, to censor what they actually want to say. You need those young people who are courageous, but also older people who are ready to empathize, ready to listen to what younger people and women have to say. And so for a mosque committee, we're not talking about imam, we're talking about the committee that is going to run the mosque. It is important we have women, we have younger people on that committee to make their contributions, etc. So I think it's absolutely essential. You may actually find, in my own humble experience, and alhamdulillah, Allah has helped me in being able to use funding to build a couple of mosques. They've all been women. It's all been women. I'm not aware of even one mosque that I have helped establish that was not by a woman. So we have more and more sisters that are getting educated, that are paying zakat, and when you exclude them, they start feeling more at home with some other mosque that is ready to go online, that's ready to be more accommodating. In fact, sometimes some mosques are so hostile towards women that they feel they'll go and establish their own mosque, and you don't blame them when you look at the hostility of some of the mosques around. So definitely, I think they add value to the mosque. The point that Brother Ibrahim was raising about being more accommodating, I think the simple litmus test to the tolerance level of an imam is to ask yourself, the person you want to not come into the mosque, in the home of Makkah and in the mosque in Medina, will that person be allowed to attend the mosque? If yes, then don't glorify your mosque above those two mosques. Because if that mosque can accommodate Muslims of all madhabs, of various sects, Sunni, Shia, you name the rest of them, Maliki, Shafi, Hanafi, Hanbali, Sufi, Qadiriya, Tijaniya, Salafi, Izala, what else have you gotten? Then what makes your mosque so holy that you are the one that is going to bar believers from coming to the mosque? So I think this question of being more accommodating is also tied to the quality of the imam. Imam is expected, but it doesn't have to be, but is expected to be one of the best representatives of Islam. But the reason I don't want to put too much emphasis on the imam is because we don't have clergy in Islam. We don't have one religious group that have a very special connection with Allah. So it is the responsibility of every Muslim in the mosque, those that are more intellectually predisposed, those that like academics, those that like fiqh, those that like learning of hadith, of Quran, of theology, of all of these subject areas, to be knowledgeable enough so that the imam respects your knowledge in your area, just as you continue to build the quality of the imam's own scholarship. And this is why it is important to study subjects like usulul fiqh, like qawaid al-fiqhiyah. These subjects, usul al-fiqh in particular, help us appreciate the diversity within the house of Islam, to recognize those things that are fundamental to Islam and those things that are incidental, those things that are core and essential, and those things that we agree to disagree. There are areas of khilaf and I prefer this, but I respect the other opinion. So Imam is definitely critical. For fundraising, I think I'll just add a little to what my brother Taslim mentioned. In my humble opinion, I have not seen a project that sincere Muslims want to do, a school they want to build, a mosque they want to build, a program they want to fund. I have not yet seen one that has a problem of funding. Only when there's a problem of inadequate sincerity and commitment. You want to build a mosque, but you are waiting for somebody to bring money, and you didn't stop to say, hey, in this mosque, how many people can commit 2 hours every Saturday, and we will come and do what we can. And I will fast and miss a lunch of 500 naira, and with that money, we will buy 2 blocks for people. And I will put aside 10% of my salary every month towards this mosque, or 5% of my salary every month. I will be giving 5 naira every day, 5 naira every day towards the mosque. And at the end of a month, my 5 naira is about 150 naira.
Yes, sir.
So you need to ask yourself, Have you done mastata'atum? You know, the Quran tells us, Ittaqullah mastata'atum. The Prophet ﷺ says, if I ask you to do something, do the best you can. Many of us have not shown sincerity by doing the best we can. We've done a little, we put it on paper, we circulate it, but nobody has seen sincere commitment to action. Everywhere I have seen sincere commitment to action, I have seen support. Yesterday, I went with a colleague to see a mosque, 2 years old, in this area. They have built a mosque, they want to build classes. But if you look at how far they have gone, the moment they have enough money to buy blocks, they will buy blocks. The moment they've got enough to buy cement, they will buy cement. After they've got enough blocks for 1 day's worth of work, the moment they have enough money for a mason to work for 1 day, they will give the mason the money, come and work for 1 day, take this building to the next level. You see sincerity, you see transparency, you see action, not talking, not wishing, not why is the Ummah not supporting, not complain. So I honestly feel Allah rewards sincere action that people do. And everywhere I have seen that, I have seen people coming and giving support. You cannot say when you are driving your car in the night that you want your headlights to show the whole way of your journey. Your headlights will only show 150 feet or 50 meters in front of you. But you will go that distance, reach, and Allah opens the way forward. Reach the next milestone, and Allah opens the way forward. But if you're going to sit and say, I will not walk, let Allah come running to me, it doesn't work. The sunnatullah is, if you come walking, Allah comes running. If you do 1 step, Allah does 10 towards you. The Yorubas have a beautiful saying that it is the child that lifts its hands up that gets carried. We need to show ourselves that we really care, we do our best with what we have while we can. You know, just do your best, and inshallah, Allah will continue to support. May Allah make it easy for us all.
Ameen, ameen. Jazakallah khairan. There are so many more questions coming in, and unfortunately, we only have 2 minutes more before the Zoom itself shuts down. So, unfortunately, if you can't answer a question, Jazakallah khairan, you can send it through Dawah Institute at gmail.com or www.dawahinstitute.org. Inshallah, this shall be addressed accordingly. But there's one final question we hope Alhaji will address before we go off air. His brother from Malam Alikinwo is currently, I think, in either in Australia or so. He said, identifying potentials within the mosque members, people coming in. How do we ensure, how can we identify potential and also maybe organize a program for them to also train others, like somebody who has business, is a business tycoon, this person is very good in leadership training. How do we identify potential to ensure other people can benefit from within the mosque community?
Briefly, what I would say is something I learned some time ago. To GETUASK, if you can just remember that. To GETUASK. GET stands for get. ASK, ask. To get, you ask. Ask your committee. We're looking for professionals in this area. Ask them. You know, just ask people who know, and there's usually somebody who can say, oh, that person can help, and this person. Probably is something I think we should always have. When Allah says, which of Allah's favors will you deny? Usually, Allah's favors are already around you. You just really haven't put the effort or humility to learn, to ask, to be polite, to be welcoming, to be acceptable, to be accommodating. And this is why pushing people away, because this one is this group and that group, and this one is not dressing as properly as he should, or she is not dressing as properly as she should, you push away Allah's rahmah. If you are more accommodating, more tolerating, you will ask, inshallah, you will get. So to get, please ask Allah and ask people around you. Wallahu alam.
Jazakallah khairan. Before we go, Alhamdulillah, I just realized that we still have up to 30 minutes more, even though we might not be able to stay for that because of our other engagement, but we can still spend more time even apart beyond 12:30. But there's this question that I would like to direct to Madam Taslim, making it a national affair. Even though most other questions, most other comments are appreciating and acknowledging the fact that this is very educative and for learning, this question is very particular about making it a national affair by having a national council for mosque committee registration, so that every imam, every mosque is identified, will have a data log for that. How do we get that done?
Yeah, I think it's important we leverage the existing structure of the Muslim Ummah in Nigeria or wherever we are, so that we don't create too much structures that like we end up not making very good use of. So we have the Supreme Council of Muslim Affairs, So, but I would suggest also that let's start locally first. It can become, we can make it national, but let's start locally first. One mosque, let's mosque within a local community, start interacting, engaging one another, So I have a common curriculum that you will use to train yourselves, have time where you visit one another, inter-mosque visitation, build good rapport among yourself first, because we have not yet reached a stage where we want to start doing national things like this, because even within ourselves, we still have some challenges. So we need to clean our houses first before we start moving out. So from the local community, we ensure that mosque relationship between one mosque and the other, different Muslim community is very, very good. So that from there, when our relationship within is very, very good, then we can start moving outward gradually. So that's very important that we embrace. There's what I would like to call internal inclusiveness, which is allowing women, allowing young people to come to the mosque. And there's this external inclusiveness also, which is one mosque, embracing one another. Juma mosque, have separate mosques forming a Juma mosque together. Member of this mosque, member of that mosque coming together, to pray. So that way, whatever lessons we are learning in this community or in this part of the community, it's also extended to other parts of the community. So gradually, we have the same kind of training going around within the community. So imams from this community visiting imams from other community, exchanging ideas, exchanging things about the future of the Ummah, how they in their own mosque they are trying to go about it, so that learn from one another, interchange knowledge. I think that's where we need to start first, cementing the cultural stance of the Muslim that we have currently, trying to build bridges among ourselves first, solving the little problems we have first among ourselves before we start moving into national issues. Because by the time we move into national issues, we start forgetting all these small things because everybody is looking at the top. We have potential to solve our problem gradually in the local communities, and from there we can move into the national issues.
MashaAllah, Jazakumullah khairan for that strategic response to that question, because it's a very technical one. Inshallah, we're coming to the end of the Zoom seminar, let me say session, engagement sections session we are having currently. But we would like to hear the last, let me say, farewell message from our Sheikh, Alaji Nur Delemu. What would be your farewell message to the Ummah, especially regarding this topic, mosque management and leadership?
Alhamdulillah, I think a few points I would want to just emphasize. One, just to come up with a word that I've heard some scholars use as what you call probably more palatable term to the word democratic, is to be shuracratic. To practice more shuracracy in our mosques, to be more consultative, to be more participatory, to let's have committees and subcommittees where everybody feels they've got something to contribute to the welfare of the mosque. To let the mosque look beyond just prayers. On the question of financial sustainability, from the time you are planning a mosque, please plan where are you going to put the shops that people would rent. What classes would you have? I would recommend every mosque, when you are trying to get your land, have space for classes that could evolve into a school. It may be a weekend school, it may be an afternoon school, it may have evening classes, it may end up becoming a full-fledged school. But what that does is it also becomes not just a service to the community, but a source of income, a source of, it becomes a work, an endowment that supports some of the essential activities of the school. And I'd like to underscore a point that Brother Taslim mentioned, which was the question of relationships between mosques. When in Ramadan or as we move into Eid, some donor gives a mosque a lot of things, say sacks of rice or meat. Please build better relations with another mosque by sending something to them for their own congregation. And it's the same thing I would advise even Islamic organizations. When you get a lot and you know, yes, you could use it all, but then why not give another organization to do it for their own group? Or if you have to handle accountability, do it in partnership as a joint program. So let's take advantage of the goods that come our way to build relationships with other mosques, with Muslims in other areas. Forget about whether they are Tijaniya or Izala or Sufi or Salafi or whatever. Let us build brotherhood. Yes, we agree to disagree, but let's be agreeable. Let's be more amicable. Let's show civility and brotherhood, that yes, we disagree on some issues, but we don't forget we're Muslims, and most importantly, we're human beings helping each other. And may Allah continue to guide, protect, and forgive us, and give us the best in this life and the hereafter. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum from me.
So, yeah.
So, Alhamdulillah, I think I want to stand on the advice Sheikh Nuruddin has given, just to say that I want to implore Muslims to be very tolerant of one another, because if we have to move forward, we need to tolerate one another. It's saddening that within a mosque, we don't tolerate one another. So if we can't tolerate one another within a mosque, it's difficult to tolerate people outside the mosque. So tolerance is very, very important. The Ummah is blessed with so many talents, so many skills. We are allowing our intolerance to keep all these talents away from us. So what we need is how to harness the skills Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, how to make use of them so that we can move the Ummah forward. We need to sit down and decide, deliberately decide for the Ummah, that the Muslim Ummah in Nigeria, the Muslim Ummah in South Africa, and wherever we are, this is what we want to achieve for ourselves and work towards it. And we can only achieve that when we all come together and play our roles, play our parts in order to achieve those. It requires leadership, and we need leadership of various modes to come together, to work together, and to be able to achieve greater good for the Ummah. And when we say greater good for the Ummah, when we say the future of the Ummah, because we believe that what the Ummah possesses is good for humanity. So, and that's why we are so much emphasizing that let's do good for the Ummah. Let's, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has enjoined us, let's work towards achieving those things. And we believe that when we achieve them, the whole world will also benefit from it. You know, that rahmah thing we have been mentioning since morning is key to every single thing the Ummah wants to achieve. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the strength, the ability, and the humility to be able to work for on his path and to be able to achieve whatever he has enjoined us to achieve. Having said that, I want to say Eid Mubarak to everybody. Jazakumullahu khairan for listening to us. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So that Eid Mubarak is coming too early. Inshallah, will join us on the 19th of this month. That's next week, Monday, 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. at the same time, at the same venue, but this time around with one of our presenters being replaced with another one. As we discussed there, the spirit of it, the unspoken the unspoken part or the unspoken lecture of what we should actually imbibe from the celebration of Eid. We'll have a lot to learn. We'll still have in our discussion, inshallah, Sheikh Nuruddin Lemu, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. The flights will be out as soon as possible. We hope you come and invite others that might not be privileged to, witness this, to also join us there on Zoom. And also on Facebook Live, which also be transmitted to our YouTube Live, bi'iznillahi ta'ala. You can join us, as some of us are asking, how we can get contacts for presenters or questions that we could not answer. You can kindly join us live or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Dawa Institute, or www.dawainstitute.org, or Dawa Institute on Facebook, and also on Twitter at Twitter Dawa Institute. You can join us, and you can, most other questions that you might feel needed some attention will be responded to, bi'iznillahi ta'ala. We appreciate our presenters. Jazakumullahu khairan for taking your time to respond to this beautiful discussion and benefiting the Muslim Ummah at large. Just Allah to preserve you people, both of you, in goodness and in faith, and grant you people, both of you, Jannatul Firdaus. And to our listeners, Jazakumullahu khairan for being patient for so long, even though we extended more than the enough time, but also for the benefit of the Ummah at large. Jazakallahu khairan. I hope to meet you next time by next week, Monday, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.